Continuing coverage on the major hospital in Tel Aviv that was hit by an Iranian missile. 240 people were hurt, including 80 patients. The vast majority of the injuries are minor, as much of the hospital had already been evacuated in recent days. So our medical contributor, Dr. Michael Daignault, who's here with us every week, is here with more on that, because for you, this is personal. This was a hospital you used to work at, right?
Yeah, this is very real. So it's just a correction. This is actually in Beersheba. This is southern Israel. This is about an hour away from Tel Aviv. It's the biggest hospital in southern Israel, about 1,000 beds. Like you mentioned, I went to med school here. I lived across the street from Soroka Medical Center for 3 years and spent every day there, whether it was class or clinicals. And, you know, from what I understand, a lot of the rooms, a lot of the patients had been evacuated, or they were placed in the emergency shelter, which is downstairs in the basement. But, you know, patients continue to come into the ER. You have surgery, you have the OR being operated at all times, and so you have to quickly adjust when things like this happened. And it was an entire surgical ward that was destroyed. A lot of windows were blown out. Thankfully, nobody died, but significant amount of injuries. So you're dealing with the patients you already have in the ER.
Where do you take them?
Well, this hospital is fairly big, 1,000 beds. There's plenty of other wards that they could have opened, plus the emergency bomb shelters in the basement, which are run by generators. So there's a lot of structure here for them to use when something like this happens.
What goes through your mind when you see that? I mean, a place that I'm sure you love, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's shocking, and you know, it just reminds me that in war, every country, every party to war has to remember Geneva Convention, 1949. Got to avoid medical facilities. I think we can all agree on that, no matter what our politics are. Just don't target medical facilities and go out of your way to make sure you don't accidentally hit them either.
Yeah. Meanwhile, let's talk about some of the news of this week. Obviously, early on in this segment, we talked about COVID all the time. We haven't talked about it in a long time, but there's a new strain having to do with razor blade throat. What's this?
So this is the Nimbus variant. So this is an Omicron descendant variant. And, you know, as you remember, every summer we have a weird outbreak in COVID. It's not just a seasonal winter virus. And so we're starting to see more people test positive in the ER. And so one of the main symptoms lately is just very severe sore throat, feeling like when you swallow, it's like razor blades, which is where this term came up with. So, you know, important thing, you got to make sure that it's actually COVID and not strep, because if it's strep throat, that is to be treated with antibiotics. If you don't have strep, test positive for COVID, there's a number of things you can do at home. We have some things on the screen here. So soothing warm drinks. You want to avoid things like caffeine and alcohol. They're just going to irritate the throat. Half a teaspoon of baking soda and warm water will really help, as well as salt. Over-the-counter ibuprofen, Tylenol. Things you can remember, you can take Tylenol and ibuprofen at the same time, because Tylenol is metabolized in the liver, ibuprofen is metabolized in the kidneys. Those are really important things. And then, you know, if things get worse, you have difficult swallowing, difficult breathing, severe fevers, that's when you need to go back to the ER.
And real quickly, new study about coffee. Is it good to drink coffee or not in 30 seconds?
So psyched to see this. So this was a study of 46,000 people, and that if you drink 3 cups of coffee a day, your chances of all-cause mortality go down by 17%. So purely black coffee, that's the key. So you can add a little bit of sugar, add a little bit of creamer, but that if you can avoid, you know, excessive amounts and just stick to black coffee, that's where you see the most benefit. And that's all-cause mortality, because coffee is an antioxidant, it's anti-inflammatory, it includes insulin sensitivity and all that great stuff.
Dr. Daignault, great to see you.
You too.
We'll be right back.